So, what if I told you that for most of human history, our whole idea of art as self-expression just didn't exist? That art wasn't about what you felt, but about what was objectively true. We're about to dive into the world of sacred art, and it's built on a foundation that's going to seem completely alien to us today, a foundation in metaphysics itself. Just let that sink in for a second. The very thing we're taught art is for, a way to channel our own unique feelings and ideas, would have been totally incomprehensible. It suggests that for thousands and thousands of years, art was doing something else entirely, something much bigger, maybe something more universal. To really get what that something else is, we have to understand that we're talking about two completely different worlds. I don't just mean different styles or techniques. No, we're talking about two opposing worldviews that create two fundamentally different kinds of art, the sacred and the modern. And wow, when you lay it out side by side like this, the difference is just staggering. Look at the source. One comes from universal truth, the other from individual fantasy. The whole goal of one is to gain knowledge, while the other is all about provoking emotion. Sacred art was basically a science, judged by cosmic law. But modern art? It's a personal statement, judged only by subjective taste. They are polar opposites. Okay, so with a philosophical split that massive, it naturally leads to a completely different idea of who the artist even is. Are they this singular, celebrated genius? Or are they something else entirely? Right, so if art isn't about expressing your deep inner self, then who is the person holding the brush or the chisel? I mean, can we even call them an artist in the way we think of that word today? And this, right here, is the core of it. The traditional craftsman was often totally anonymous, seen more like a channel for divine archetypes. Their job wasn't to invent something new out of thin air, but to make truth real, to realize it in stone or paint. Their freedom wasn't in doing whatever they wanted. It was in perfectly conforming to cosmic law. It is the absolute opposite of the modern artist, who we celebrate as a genius precisely for their individual quirks and personal fantasies. Okay, so if sacred art isn't communicating personal feelings, what is it communicating and how does it do it? Well, it uses a very specific universal language, the language of symbolism. All right, so to really get symbolism, we first have to understand what a symbol isn't. And it's not just a sign. Think about the word tree. The letters T-R-E-E have absolutely nothing to do with an actual living tree. It's just a convention, right? An arbitrary code that we've all agreed means that big leafy thing outside. But a true symbol in this traditional sense is on a whole other level. It's believed to have a real objective link to the thing it represents. It doesn't just point to a reality, it actually participates in it. It's not just a picture of the sun, but a lens that helps focus the sun's actual power in reality. The symbol makes that higher thing tangible, present, right here with you. And this language has a universal grammar. For the traditional artist, numbers weren't just for counting. They had inherent qualities, like the perfection of unity or the tension of duality. Geometry wasn't just a bunch of shapes, it was the sacred architecture of the cosmos itself. And proportions, like the golden section, were reflections of cosmic harmonies. These weren't seen as human inventions, they were fundamental discoveries about how reality is structured. And a Gothic cathedral is the perfect example of this in action. When you walk into one, you're not just walking into a big, pretty building. You're walking into a scale model of the entire cosmos. That cross shape of the floor plan, that's the horizontal, earthly world of time intersecting with the vertical, divine axis of eternity. It's a physical map of a metaphysical reality. So this brings us to the ultimate question. If sacred art is this complex science based on metaphysical truth, what's the end game? Why go to all this trouble? Well, its ultimate purpose has this really fascinating name. It's anagogical function. It's a fancy word, I know, but it just means to lead upward. Sacred art is meant to be a ladder for the soul. It's a tool, a technology, designed to lift our consciousness from the physical world we see and touch all the way up to the intelligible, invisible world of metaphysical truth. So how does this upward journey actually work? Well, it starts with the physical thing, the statue, the icon, the painting you're looking at. But if it's made correctly, that material image resonates with something deeper, a subtle psychic reality. And that, in turn, is a reflection of a pure spiritual archetype, a universal divine truth. The art becomes a bridge, a support for your own mind to climb from the material all the way to the spiritual. And this completely flips our whole idea of beauty on its head. It's not just in the eye of the beholder. In this worldview, beauty is an objective quality. It's the splendor of truth. An object is beautiful when it perfectly embodies what it's supposed to be, its ideal form. Beauty isn't a feeling you have. It's the light that truth itself gives off when it's made real in the world. So you have to ask, if this way of thinking about art was so fundamental to pretty much every traditional civilization, what happened? Why does it all seem so strange and foreign to us now? Well, you can pretty much trace the story of this disconnection through the centuries. It starts in the traditional era, where art is a sacred science. Then, boom, the Renaissance arrives, and suddenly the spotlight is on the individual genius. A huge turning point is the 18th century, when this new field called aesthetics, which is literally the study of subjective taste, officially takes the place of metaphysics as the foundation for art. And that path leads us directly to where we are now, where art is almost entirely defined as self-expression. And the result of this long historical shift is, well, profound. It's a complete rupture with the metaphysical order. From the traditional viewpoint, when you sever art from transcendent truth, it loses its anchor. It has no objective foundation anymore. And they would argue this inevitably leads to the dissolution of form itself, a slow slide into chaos. Which leaves us all with a final and pretty heavy question to think about. If the sacred art of traditional civilizations was a conscious, deliberate reflection of cosmic order, what does the art of our own time reflect about our worldview, about our understanding of reality?